What's going good, people, man? This your boy Small Soldier right here, back in action once again. This time here we got some rumors in the house, rumors and more rumors. On today's episode we're going to talk about the Oblivion Remaster or Remake, possible release dates, a few additional details, and everything that we know so far. If this is your first time stumbling across my channel, really appreciate you taking your time to hear what I gotta say. Show your boy some love, man. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned until the end because I'm going to do a little Q&A. I'm really curious to get some feedback and some thoughts from everybody out there, man. So stay tuned until the end and we can make some things happen right there. So with that, let's get started. Alright, people, man, so it's been almost 20 years. Can y'all believe that? It's been almost 20 years since the previous release of Oblivion on the Xbox 360. I think it came out on 06 on the Xbox and 07 on the PS3. And interestingly enough, it was published by 2K and Ubisoft in different regions. And on the Xbox, it was released on March the 20th, right? So it's been a while. It's been a while since we've last gotten this game. So how did we all find out about this potential remaster remake, right? So it first popped up on everybody's radar during the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. That's when this first started percolating about on the scene. I think Jeff Grubb and a few others was talking about this maybe even before then. But recently, some jokers out there, man, was just navigating around the Virtuous website. Virtuous is a game support studio. They're working on the Metal Gear Solid Delta game that's supposed to drop August of this year. They also previously worked on the Outer Worlds, which is another Microsoft based game, if you will, Unreal Engine game, and they work on a number of big titles, right? But some dudes that was out there, man, they just was looking around at the Virtuous website. They wasn't doing nothing special. They wasn't doing no hacking. You know, they just did a simple old browser inspect and they was able to extract some images, some upcoming images. And so, you know, that's how this recently came about. So when will this come out? That's the first question, right? What is the possible release date for Oblivion? Depending on who you ask, it could be as soon as tomorrow, right? So April the 21st is when a number of journalists out there say that this game gonna drop. So we could potentially get this game tomorrow. It could potentially also drop anywhere towards the end of April. So we're looking at April the 21st, April 22nd, or the end of April. And there's a few justifiable reasons why that could be the case. So the April 21st date was revealed by Jeff Grubb. Also, man, some people was asking the Xbox support when this could come out, and they also said April the 21st, but that could just be some AI chatbot that was doing some pattern recognition online, and they come up with the 21st date, right? So you might need to take that with a grain of salt right there. So April the 21st, tomorrow, is a potential timeline. Some folks have speculated April the 22nd because there's an Elder Scroll anniversary event going on, Elder Scroll Online, and it's supposed to end on the 22nd. So to not have this overlap with that, but it's still Elder Scrolls, so maybe all that could kind of go together. But some have speculated that it will be after that event, so after the 22nd, maybe on the 22nd or after the 22nd. And some people have just said towards the end of April. So why April? Why not March the 20th, which would have been the 19-year anniversary? Well, Assassin's Creed Shadows, right, dropped on March the 20th. You don't want to drop the same day as Shadows because Shadows had the potential to be a very big game. You also had in April, you know, Xbox had a lot of activity going on in April, right? So they had South of Midnight earlier on in April. We just had Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So maybe they just felt like, hey, okay, you know what, we need to space these things out. I know they was talking about a release strategy. So maybe they just decided towards the end of April would be better. They couldn't do the 20th because of AC Shadows, and you don't want to drop on that day. They didn't want to cannibalize any of the other previous release dates for their other titles. So they just figured, okay, you know, this upcoming April could be an ideal spot. So potentially April 21st to the end of April is the possible release date. So on to additional details and everything that we know so far. The most important thing is, how much will this cost? Right, so obviously I will be shocked if this doesn't come on Game Pass, so there's a high probability that this will be dropping day one on Game Pass. But in terms of cost, this could be anywhere from $49.99 to $69.99, right? And you look at some previous other games that have released in a similar kind of vein. The Ninja Gaiden 2 Black remaster, remake, or whatever that was $49.99 if I'm not mistaken. You've also had some other, remaster remake games go for $69.99. Elder Scrolls Oblivion is a hefty bad boy, is a hefty package. Spectacular game. If you hadn't played the game, I definitely recommend playing it when it does come out, if it does come out, right? But the potential cost, if I had to speculate, I think it would be $49.99. I could be wrong on that though, because more than likely it will include all the extra content. So $49.99, maybe a lower price point, but I think the price range definitely will be between $49.99 and $69.99. I'm leaning more towards $49.99, but we will have to wait and see. On to point number 2, which platforms, right? Which platforms will this be available for? Obviously, PC, more than likely Steam, definitely the Xbox Series consoles. PlayStation 5 is another obvious one because you want to get that player base, that potential player base right there. And also maybe the Switch, right? Of course, the Switch also has a strong player base, and Virtuos has experience, the supposed developers for this game. They have experience with porting games over to the Switch. So I would not be surprised if this is also on the Switch. More than likely, my gut feeling is telling me though, definitely for the Switch too. But you never know, it could come out for the OG Switch as well. So those are the possible platforms. In terms of game engine, we're hearing that this will be using the Unreal Engine 5. Some are estimating that it'll be similar deal to the Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, where you had the OG engine underneath, doing the calculations, and then the Unreal Engine was handling the visual aspects of it. So it could be a similar type of deal. Maybe that's a way to expedite the development process. From all accounts though, from all the screenshots and everything that we've seen, it's going to be Unreal Engine 5. And it's interesting that so many games now are moving towards Unreal Engine 5. This is a whole separate topic altogether. I feel some type of way about that because, man, I think there's something unique and powerful about games having their own unique essence, their own unique engine. Right, we see with Cyberpunk, we see with The Witcher, we see with the Horizon Zero Dawn. Say what you will about that game, that engine, the Decimal Engine, man, is a pretty powerful engine. Kojima was able to do magic with that engine on Death Stranding. Speaking of The Witcher and Cyberpunk, I think both games could be moving towards Unreal Engine. So, we see an Unreal Engine more ubiquitous and used all over the place, and that could be for a wide variety of different reasons. But I still hope moving forward, we still see some individual engines thrive out there. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was on the Crytek engine, beautiful engine right there. So I still hope we see engines thrive, but that's a whole separate thing altogether, right? So the engine supposedly is supposed to be the Unreal Engine 5. DLC. Well, what about the DLC, right? I will be shocked. We ain't got no word. I couldn't find anything regarding, whether or not this will include the DLC, but I will be shocked if this does not include all the DLC. That's how these things typically go. Whenever you do a remaster, remake, anything of that nature, oftentimes all the previous DLC, all the legacy content is bundled together. You may get some new content available. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with like the creation store and mods we saw what Bethesda did with the Skyrim Anniversary Edition. And adding in some new content like that. Maybe they will add in some new content. I firmly believe Oblivion has some of the best DLC ever. The Shivering Isles is a masterful DLC. Masterful DLC. That's the true meaning of DLC, where the DLC even feels more expansive than the base game. But I will be surprised and shocked if the title, when it comes out, doesn't include the DLC. And then there's also the potential for a box version, which I think is more than likely, and so you're gonna have all that packaged together. So I think the DLC is highly probable for this release. Other enhancements that have been percolating and been speculated is the gameplay. So we've heard a lot about the gameplay improvements, and we've read some about the UI, the interface. The interface has supposedly gone through some facelift, some surgery on the interface to make things more modernized. Previous interface was a little cluttered, but real talk though, all of Bethesda games, their interface is lacking, just to say it like that. I mean, even Starfield. So they always struggle with the interface aspect in all their games. So I don't even know what an improved interface could look like from them, because their recent offerings, the interface be a little shaky right there. But in terms of gameplay, it sounds like they have a tremendous amount of gameplay changes. So they improved the level scaling, because that was a bit of a problem in the OG game. The combat has been overhauled. Your stamina has been changed. supposed to be less challenging, less annoying for folks out there. They've improved the blocking, and I read this comment that they were talking about inspired to be more Souls-like. I really wonder what that means, right? What they mean by that, blocking to be more inspired to be more Souls-like. I'm really interested and curious by that. And the sneaking is supposed to be overhauled, has some visual cues out there. Last but not least, the archery system is supposed to be modernized. Overall, it sounds like a lot of possible improvements are coming to the combat system. And so, I'm super excited, really excited, because Oblivion is definitely a great game. It's one of those games for me that I put a tremendous amount of hours in, but I didn't replay it much. I love the game. I really thoroughly enjoyed the game. I'm looking forward to hopping back in and marinating on this game for a hot little minute, if this is accurate. Let's see if it drops tomorrow. We can have a pleasant surprise tomorrow. If not, maybe it drops next week. Stay tuned for some feedback from your boy. Questions. Got a couple of questions out there. I want to get your thoughts on some of these questions. Number one, based upon everything that you've heard, everything that I've said so far, do you consider this to be a remaster or a remake? I know that it don't really matter, right? People use them interchangeably. For me, a remake was always a game where they basically built it in a new engine, they overhauled the assets, they remade the game. Resident Evil 4, Demon Souls, etc. A remastered game was a game where it was pretty much the base game, but it was upscale, improved resolution, improved anti-aliasing, maybe some improvements on the visual, but it's still pretty much the same core game right there, right? Some people don't feel like that. So what do you think? What do you consider this? Do you consider this a remaster or a remake? I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on that. Question number 2. Will you play this game in third person or first person? I'm a little torn by that, right? I'm a little torn by that because typically the Elder Scrolls series games, I usually always play those first person. I've never been the biggest fan of the Bethesda third person though. It just never felt right to me. But funny enough, Avowed, I was playing that primarily third person, and I kind of got in tune and it felt more natural to me, so I could see myself shifting Oblivion if the third person feels well, right? But again, I'll be curious to hear what everybody's thoughts are on that. Question number 3. Have you played Oblivion before, right? And if you have you beaten it? How many times have you played it? I'm curious to see how many people have played it, how many times people have beaten it. Do you still play it? I'm curious by that, right? We have a bunch of new players out there, a bunch of people that are just playing Skyrim for the first time. I can't tell you how many comments I see about, hey man, this is my first time playing Skyrim. So Oblivion, there are gonna be a bunch of people playing it for the first time. So we'll just have to see what the deal is. But yeah, those are some of the questions I have. I'm curious to hear what your feedback is towards this. What are your thoughts on all of that stuff? And then, stay tuned. We'll see what happens tomorrow. So folks, that is pretty much that. Just wanted to give this discussion video on Oblivion Remaster, Remake, possible release date and details, and what we know so far, talking about the rumors here. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. As always, I appreciate the support. And with that there, I guess I will see you guys in the next video.